What's good, YouTube? It's Real Fox here, and I just got back from what I'd say is a pretty successful Duelist Alliance sneak preview. So I went with my teammate, The Shape Works, and our other friend, D Decken, and just we all went the other packs. And out of my first pack, I pulled Castell, the Skyblaster Musketeer. So yeah, that was pretty good. I also pulled Stellar Knight Delteros, which I gave to Decken because he decided he wanted to build Stellar Knight. So there was also like the mini tournament that they always do, 3 rounds of Swiss, and then a cut to top four, kind of like just a local tournament. So, uh, as I stated in my hat video, I decided that this time I was going to take Mermail, which I did, and I did pretty well. I went undefeated in Swiss, and then lost in top four to really, really bad opening hands. I think game one, I opened Triple Wind, a Genesis Controller, and Abyss Sphere, and then drew into Phoenix Wind Blast. And then game two, like I just auto scooped as I wasn't gonna win. And then game two, I opened double breakthrough skill and like Megalo, and like he opened Thunder King. So yeah. Let's see. Round one, I went against. Round one was actually a mirror match. It was the Mermail player I lost to on Wednesday at the other store I went to when I was using Hat. I beat him this time though. Round two, it was a friend of mine who was running Dark World. He'd been out of the game for a long time, so he was really rusty. And then game three was actually, or round three was actually the Shape Works, and he was running Dragon Ruler, and I beat him. So yeah, and then I lost in top four to Constellar because shitty opening hands. So yeah. So my Mermail deck is actually fairly updated from the one I posted 3 weeks ago, just because I took some just inspiration from the builds that topped the ARG Championship in Cleveland, particularly Sahabi Carradine's because he won. I liked how their decks were more control and grind focused than aggressive, like mine was. So I took their approach, and the deck's working a lot better. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, I think it's 24 monsters. Let's see. So for Mermails, we got 1 lead, 1 Megalo, 3 Teos, 1 Gund, 3 Land. I debated cutting this down to 2, because just like Sabi Carradine said, he cut down to 2 because he didn't like opening multiples. In my experience, I found that cutting to 2 didn't really change much of how often I drew into her. Like I was still drawing into her often, and very rarely do I draw into multiples. Like the one time I've drawn multiple lands was that game in the top four where I opened all 3, which was just awful. And just really, when you run 2, it's kind of like Genesis Control. Opening any of them is really bad because it forces you to use Fear in a way that's not as good. So I still like the 3, and it gives you another strong opener. Like if you just open nothing, you can just set Land and pass. So yeah, because like the 3 cards I would say constitute a strong opener in this deck, or the 4 cards are Land, Undine, Sphere, and Pike. So all 3 of those create. There's 12 cards that give you a strong opening, so I think it's fine. 3 Pike, obviously. They're not super rares yet, which makes me sad. And that's the Mermail lineup. I didn't run Turge again because I just don't think Turge is worth it anymore. For Atlanteans, 1 Dragoons, and then I actually cut down the Atlantean count to half because I was running trips of both Marksman and Infantry. Now I'm just running 2 Marksman and 1 Infantry. And this is just because, just with a more control focus on the deck, you don't really want to see too many Atlanteans because that's extremely aggressive, which can lose you the game. Like, you only want to play Megalo from your hand when you really need them. Like, if you just really have a clogged hand, because you never want to draw Megalo, you just want to search them when you need to get stuff out of your hand. Just stuff like that. So, this is helpful. There are a couple times where I'm missing, like, where I wish I had more than 1 infantry, but those times are usually pretty rare, and it's at the point where the game's gone on for so long that I probably am in a losing spot anyway. But yeah, the 2 marksmen work really great. A couple of times I wish I had 3, but overall 2 works just as well. And also because with only 3 Undine, you're not going to be able to pitch so many Atlanteans anyway, because at least one of them you want to send with Tidal. You want to send Tidal to the graveyard, and then you'll probably end up sending Dragoons, which will get one of these anyway. So you really don't need too many Atlanteans anymore. 1 Tidal. 3 Undine, and I still run 3 controller. I cut down to 2 for a while, and then decided that just it wasn't worth having the. It's just like, because still when you draw one controller and you're running 2, it makes things a lot harder. So again, I'll take the risk of drawing it more often if it means I'm more likely to keep 2 in the deck, because I just always want to resolve 2 Undines at least. Because and again, I very rarely open 2 controllers at a time. Like I didn't do it at all today, and just like yeah. And only one time in a testing hand ever have I ever opened all 3 controller, and I just next game. Yeah, like it will happen, but it's not very often. And then I also run Gores just because it catches people off guard. And the deck runs enough, like it runs a low enough back row that, like, and most of it usually doesn't stay, that you can just easily drop Gores and it can change the tide of the game. In my mirror match today, this actually held the guy off for a while in the mirror game 1. He ended up winning, but Gores being there helped. But I would side it out in the mirror and against Dragon Rule, because those are the 2 decks that can. Those 2 and Sylvan are really the decks that can take advantage of this. So yeah, and that's the monster lineup. For spells, it's 1 Allure, 1 Book of Moon. I love this card so much. Like I cannot think of many instances where I've played Book of Moon and wished it was something else. I do side it out often. Just because like at that I need something to side out during games 2 and 3, and Book of Moon like is good for like general use in game 1, but game 2 and 3 when you have more specific threats you don't quite need it as much. 1 Dark Hole, 1 Mind Control. I was really siding this, but then I realized that just about every deck has something I can Mind Control with and use it with Genesis Controller or something else. So I decided to main deck it. And I have something else to say about this, and I'll get to it later. And 3 Soul Charge. I don't run Upstart Goblin because I really hate drawing Genesis controllers and extra lands and extra pikes, and that like with only 3 Atlanteans, which are like really the only things you honestly want to draw, and you'd rather just search everything, the extra draw power just really doesn't help the deck, in my opinion. More often than not, when I play Upstart Goblin, it doesn't help, so I got it. And then for traps, it's 3 Sphere, 2 Breakthrough Skill, 3 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I don't know if I talked about Phoenix Wing Wind Blast in my last video about Mermail, but if I didn't, the basic gist of it was that I think with the new draw rule, if you're going first, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast isn't that good because you have 1 less card to work with. The thing is that Mermail should always go second, because you have enough cards that let you respond to whatever your opponent sets up on turn 1 through the Atlanteans and just Undine and everything, that you can let them set up and you can still break through it. And then just with the extra draw, it keeps Phoenix Wing Wind Blast alive. So, like, any deck that can use this and should go second, which in my opinion is pretty much this and Dragon Ruler, like, this card is still amazing. And this actually won me game 2 against Shapeworks because he got Spark Emptiness, and I just Phoenix Wing Wind Blasted it. I Wind Blasted the Spark, and then I left Emptiness there he had nothing to do. So I forced him to play a card to get rid of it. That wasn't optimal, so yeah. And then 1 Torrential. And that's the main deck. For the extra deck, 1 Gaios, 1 Dragosack, 1 Big Eye, 1 Dweller, 1 Bahamut Shark. They were letting you use any card you pulled from the set, so I did run Castel. I never made it though. 1 Exciton, 1 Arc, 1 Alucard, 1 Mepquith Engineer, 1 Trite, 1 Leo. So the reason I really like Mind Control is because I still run Bills, even though I don't run Dragon Eyes. And this is because, well, there's artifacts are still running around, and the Shaddolls have El Shaddol Window, which is level 5. So I can Mind Control Window, or I can Mind Control Moral Talk, summon Genesis Controller, and make Bills. And that's a massive threat. Right? And just this being there makes, like, I can Mind Control just about anything and make something out of it. Because I can take 7s with him, I can take 5s with him, I can take 4s for Black Rose, and I can take 3s for Goyo Guardian, and pretty much that's really all you need. Like, the only level I can't really take is 8. And the only deck that commonly runs 8s is Sylvan, and because they run Hermitry. So yeah, and Go-Yo Guardian, I love this card. I see a lot of Mermail players not run it, but the way I see it, I don't care about whether or not I get his effect. It's the fact that he's a 2800 threat. Because say, like this is a really common board. Say I have Controller in my hand, and then on my board I have Undine, Pike, and say Teus. It can be any level 7, but it's like if you have a Undine, Pike, and any level 7, and your opponent can usually get rid of 2 of them. So say Go-Yo Guardian is not in your extra deck, so they say, okay, well, if I leave Teus alive, that makes Leo. If I leave Pike alive, that makes Black Rose. If I leave Undine alive, then all they can do is Alucard or Engineer. So they're going to kill these 2. But then if you have Go-Yo Guardian, they're in no safe spot, because no matter what 2 they kill, you can make something. You can make Leo, you can make Black Rose, or you can make Go-Yo Guardian. And just the threat of 2800 is massive. And the guy I was playing in the mirror match actually made it, and I just like had a really great moment. I was like, thank God I'm not the only person running Go-Yo Guardian. And then, but then he realized I had Gauss on the board, so yeah. He misplayed a lot of game too. Yeah. So I think Go-Yo Guardian is great. And I cut the Volvo Chain, and I cut it for Castell. It was either that or Bills, and I figured I'd find Bills more useful because of the matchup. Like, I honestly don't think the deck needs the Volvo Chain anymore, because the main argument I hear for keeping it in is that, oh, it's a rank 4 that you can make off of Soul Charge while your opponent has nothing on the board. And I'm just like, okay, how often is that? And it's just like, if I honestly needed to make a rank 4 while my opponent had nothing on the board, I'd make Dweller, because that at least boosts all my monsters' attack. And if I'm facing a deck that's not hurt by Dweller, then when else am I going to make it? Or I just not make a rank 4 yet. It's like, I've made the Volvo Chain once, and it was okay, but it was just a push for game. Like, I don't really think you need Volvo Chain in this deck, in my opinion. Someone could correct me on that, but I have yet to find a lot of use for that. So I cut it. Just for sake of space, I think Castell is more important. So, yeah. And for side deck, 2 DD Crow, 2 Flying C, 3 Maxi, 3 MST, 3 Soul Release. I didn't want to deal with Lightsworn. You can also side it against Bujin. And then 2 Malevolent Catastrophe. That's pretty obvious. So yeah, that's the entire deck. Overall, I was extremely satisfied with how it worked. Aside from my games with Constellar where I just opened really shitty, most, like, any losses I suffered today were mainly because I fucked up. Like, I just made stupid misplays. But yeah, overall it worked really well. Along with the Castell, I also picked up a decent amount of the Cheval stuff. Like, none of the really expensive stuff. I got like 1 Sinister Shadow games from Shapeworks, but it's mainly just the monsters from the deck. But eventually I'll probably build that. So yeah, I don't really know what other decks I want to do profiles for. So yeah, thanks for watching, YouTube. I'll see you next time. Business.